Well, hello, everyone, and thanks for watching THV11 News at Noon. I'm Amanda Yeager. The 21st annual THV11 Summer Cereal Drive continues, but it comes to a close today. Local businesses from around Central Arkansas are at the food bank today, giving their final donations to help out hungry kids. And THV11's Jordan Howington is there live. Looks like she's like in a bucket of cereal. Jordan, how is it going?
Oh, Amanda, I have never seen this much cereal in my life. Quite literally, I've never been surrounded by this much cereal. But hey, you know what? That is a good thing because the Arkansas Food Bank is going to be able to help many hungry children this summer. Feed them one of the most important meals of the day, and that's breakfast. So tons of cereal has been dropped off throughout the morning from all 95 teams who have participated in the Summer Cereal Drive this year. But what comes next? Well, now the counting and unpacking begins back here in the warehouse. Crews, you can see, have a lot of work ahead. I know the food bank is impressed with the amount of cereal that has come through the doors today. So tons of cereal. This is great news, especially for those kiddos who have gone hungry here in the state of Arkansas. Hey, you still have time to donate at a local grocery store here in Central Arkansas. We'll have more on that coming in the show.
Well, it looks like a great time out there. Love to see all the cereal. Keep feeding those kids. That's fantastic.
You know who's excited to see that just as much as we are?
Who's that?
Tom Brandon. I know he loves to see that, loves the cereal drive. You know he also loves warm, humid temperatures.
That sounds a lot like what Tom would like.
That's not true. Nothing about any of what we just said is true.
No.
It is warm. It is humid out here, though. I know you like warm temperatures.
You know, I've got this, sleeveless dress. It feels pretty good. But I think after a while I'm going to be sweating.
I'm not wearing anything sleeveless, and I'm sweating right now.
Yeah, that's
It's a bit muggy outside. Take a look at your satellite and radar right now. You're starting to see a few of these cumulus clouds bubble up, precursors to what's likely to be some showers and thunderstorms later this afternoon. Isolated in nature, pop-up style that we often see this time of year. It's 90 in the capital city. We are warming up into the low 90s today. As we scan the skies, you're already seeing some of those isolated downpours starting to develop in western Arkansas over the Ouachita Mountains. We're likely to see those off and on throughout the afternoon hours, continuing until the sun sets later this evening. A high of 93 today. Better chances of rain going into the weekend. We're breaking down what that means for your weekend activities coming up in your full forecast.
Pine Bluff police are investigating a 4th of July shooting that left a 2-year-old girl with serious injuries. Authorities say at 3:30 Sunday morning she was brought to an emergency room. Her mother reported they were driving south on Georgia Street toward the intersection of 21st Avenue. And that's when she heard a loud bang that sounded like a gun and realized her child had been shot. The girl is in the hospital right now recovering from a gunshot wound to the neck. Anyone with information on this incident is asked to contact Pine Bluff police. We now know the identity and the victim and suspect involved in a homicide that happened on Wednesday. The Pulaski County Sheriff's Office says 34-year-old Joshua Olswa of Jacksonville was shot and killed in the 10,000 block of Mundo Road yesterday. 30-year-old Brandy Copeland was arrested in connection and charged with illegal possession of a firearm and first-degree murder. Copeland is being held with no bond at the Pulaski County Regional Detention Center. Little Rock police say a homicide that happened back in March has been ruled justified. On March 25th, officers responded to a call of a subject down in the 1900 block of Rice Drive. When officers got there, they found 39-year-old Brian Deshaun McDowell of Little Rock dead from an apparent gunshot wound. After an investigation, LRPD detectives, the prosecuting attorney in the case, ruled the shooting justified. First from the condo collapse is officially over. Yesterday evening, the search was paused to hold a moment of silence for those who have been lost. Rescue workers who have been laboring nonstop for 2 weeks lined up to pay their respects. 60 bodies have been recovered, up to 80 people still missing. CBS's Manuel Bajorquez is in Surfside.
At the rubble of the Champlain Tower South, the solemn work goes on. But after 2 weeks of round-the-clock searching, local leaders were forced to face a painful truth.
Our hearts still hoped to find survivors, but our experience and expertise indicated that was no longer possible.
The search moves now to recovery.
The work continues with all speed and urgency. All task forces are being deployed from across the country and the world.
In a tribute to those lost, the rescue teams held a moment of silence and prayer before returning to the pile again in an effort officials believe will take several more weeks. But in those first hours after the collapse, a small few were rescued from the rubble. Devin Gonzalez was one of them, a 16-year-old who dreams of playing college volleyball. She's a star player on Coach Amy Morgan's club team.
She apologized for missing practice.
She apologized for missing practice.
Wow.
Like that same day that it happened, she was apologizing for missing practice. That's who she is.
The night of the collapse, Devin fell 4 floors, breaking her femur. She and her mother, Angela Gonzalez, were both rescued, but her father, Edgar, has yet to be found.
I just know she's so young. Edgar's such an amazing person, and I feel so bad for her because she's not going to have her dad at these, amazing years that he should be there.
After several surgeries for her broken femur, Devin has been able to take her first few steps again, but her family says she's been doing it using a walker. She did tell her coach she is determined to get back on the volleyball court. But her family, like so many others here in Surfside, are dealing with immense loss. Manuel Bojorquez, CBS News, Surfside, Florida.
We're seeing yet another jump in COVID-19 cases and hospitalizations in our state. For the first time since the height of the pandemic, we are back in the 4 digits when it comes to new cases. So let's get into the 3 things you need to know this afternoon. 1,000 new cases were added in the last 24 hours. The highly infectious Delta variant now accounts for more than 80% of new cases in Arkansas. And new cases lead to more hospitalizations, with an increase of more than 100 in the last week alone. Arkansas now has the 3rd highest rate of COVID-19 hospitalizations in the country. And that brings us to number 3. In a new attempt to get our vaccine rates up, Governor Hutchinson is kicking off his community COVID conversation tour today in Cabot. Now, this is a statewide initiative to answer questions about COVID-19 and the vaccine. It will include the governor, along with community health care and business leaders. And it comes as the governor stresses the importance of getting vaccinated. He says we need to pick up the pace before school starts next month. So far, just over 1 million people in Arkansas are fully vaccinated. That's about 34% of the population. More than 226,000 have received their first dose. The governor has a goal of getting 50% fully vaccinated by the end of July. And that is where the statewide tour comes into play. The governor says that he wants to help people overcome hesitancy, help answer their questions, and encourage vaccinations, especially as this Delta variant runs rampant in the state.
Maybe there's some questions that can be answered from a technical standpoint or a healthcare standpoint. Maybe there's some misinformation out there, and so we want to have an honest conversation. Obviously, my goal is to encourage vaccinations, but it starts with a conversation with the community, so we're going to see how it goes.
So here are the details. The first community COVID conversation starts tonight. It's at 6 p.m. at the Veterans Park Community Center. That's at 508 North Lincoln Street in Cabot. The governor will visit other communities in the coming weeks. No word on where those upcoming stops are, but of course we'll keep you updated. Japan has declared a state of emergency for this month's Olympic Games in Tokyo as cases of COVID keep climbing. Now there is a no fans ban in place. CBS's Tina Kraus reporting from London.
Olympic athletes from around the world are converging on Tokyo, and the Delta variant is outrunning organizers' plans to keep the games on track. With a rapid rise of COVID infections in the capital, Japan's prime minister is putting Tokyo in a state of emergency throughout the games. He said the 6-week lockdown was crucial to stopping the spread of the virus. The restrictions mean no fans allowed. Sports psychologists say that could hurt the athletes.
For most top performers, it'll feel strange, and it may actually make them a bit concerned that they may not deliver their best performances.
A COVID surge already forced the Olympic torch relay to detour away from the capital. Runners have ferried the flame on boats and trains on its journey toward Tokyo for the July 23rd opening ceremony. But more than 80% of the Japanese public don't want the games to go ahead. This woman even used a water gun to try to put out the flame, shouting, "Stop the Olympics," before police arrested her. Many residents are angry they're being ordered to stay home as the world's biggest sporting event unfolds around them. It's the fourth time Japan has declared a state of emergency since the pandemic began. Tina Kraus, CBS News.
Olympic organizers say they expect more than 80% of athletes will be vaccinated before the Olympics kick off 2 weeks from tomorrow. And speaking of the Olympics, gymnast Simone Biles is making a post-games trip to Arkansas this fall. We'd love to have Simone come on over. She will headline this year's Gold Over America Tour, a high-energy event featuring a pop concert and more. It's happening at Simmons Bank Arena on October 11th. Tickets go on sale July 22nd at 10 a.m. and can be purchased at the arena's box office or online through Ticketmaster. Well, if you're trying to buy a car, new or used, you've probably noticed those prices are way higher than usual. And you might have also noticed some empty lots, and that's causing issues for many people. Vehicle prices spiked during the pandemic after production stopped on new cars. Between that and a shortage of microchips, there simply aren't enough cars to satisfy the demand. So the bigger new car dealerships are buying up the used vehicles. And this is leading to tough times for used dealerships in Central Arkansas.
I normally have about 100 to 150 cars on my lot at any given day. I'm down to about 20 to 25 now.
What does come through, everybody's fighting for them, so of course the prices are extremely high.
But the dealerships aren't the only ones being impacted. The car shortage is hitting the rental industry. Daily car rental rates nearly doubling right now.